A biblical story inspired by Zechariah 8, verse 13. From mockery to a testimony. The sun rose slowly over the broken walls of Jerusalem. Dust clung to the air, and silence filled the streets where songs once echoed. Stones lay scattered, gates burned, and the people moved quietly, carrying not only rubble, but shame. Among them was a man named Eliab. Eliab had returned from exile with hope, but hope had faded quickly. Each day, he worked on rebuilding the wall, yet the progress was slow. The surrounding nations watched and laughed. "Look at them," they said. "Once a great people, now nothing but a curse." Eliab heard those words more than he heard encouragement. They sank deep into him. One evening, as he sat beside the ruins, he spoke to his friend Malchiah. "Maybe they're right," Eliab said quietly. "Maybe we are cursed. Everything we touch seems broken." Malchiah didn't answer immediately. He had no easy words. The next day, the people gathered as a prophet stood among them with a message. It was a message that cut through despair like light breaking through a storm. "Thus says the Lord," the prophet declared, his voice strong. "Just as you have been a curse among the nations, so I will save you, and you shall be a blessing. Do not be afraid. Let your hands be strong." The words hung in the air. Eliab felt something shift inside him. Not everything changed instantly. The walls were still broken. The work was still hard. The nation still watched. But something deeper changed, how he saw himself. The next morning, Eliab rose earlier than usual. His body was tired, but his spirit felt different. He picked up his tools again. As he worked, the voices of mockery returned. "What are you building? It will fall again," they shouted. This time, Eliab didn't stop. He whispered to himself, "We are not a curse. We are becoming a blessing." Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. The work was slow, but steady. Stone by stone, the wall began to rise. Fear still came, but Eliab refused to obey it. Doubt still whispered, but he answered it with action. Other people began to notice. At first, only a few joined with renewed strength. Then more. Something contagious was spreading. Not fear, but determination. The same people who once worked with heavy hearts now worked with purpose. Children began to play again in the streets. Laughter slowly returned. The sound of rebuilding replaced the silence of despair. And then, one day, something remarkable happened. A group of travelers from a distant land passed by Jerusalem. They stopped, looking at the city. "Is this the same place?" one of them asked. "Was this not the city that was destroyed?" "Yes," another replied, "but look at it now." They watched the people working, united, strong, focused. "This is no longer a cursed people," one said quietly. "This is a blessed people." Eliab stood on the wall he once thought would never stand. He looked out over the city, no longer broken but rising. He remembered the words spoken months ago. "You shall be a blessing." Tears filled his eyes, not from sorrow, but from realization. God had not only restored their city, he had restored their identity. They were no longer an example of failure. They had become a testimony of restoration, and the nations that once mocked them now spoke of them with wonder. Sparkle's lesson from the story. Sometimes nothing around you changes immediately, but everything begins to change when you stop agreeing with defeat. You may have been seen as a failure. You may have experienced loss or delay, but that is not your final identity. If you refuse fear, stay consistent, and keep building, what once looked like a curse can become a visible blessing. The turning point is not when everything becomes easy. It is when you decide to rise anyway.